Hey, it's CDA, and today I want to take a look at the Whiskerwood demo. Now, this game caught my attention for the wrong reason, because initially when I first looked at it, I was like, this is just a Timberborn clone. Instead of with beavers, you're playing with little mice. However, I actually tried to play the demo, and it turns out that this game is quite a bit different, although there are some similarities. It's definitely not just a clone. So, of course, because this is a demo, you can just play this game now. It's also coming out in full access, I think about a month from now when this goes live. So wishlist it if you find this interesting. Now, this is the demo, so there's a lot of things we cannot pick yet, but there's going to be a couple of different scenarios. This is just a scenario where we're pretty much going to start out with nothing and we'll need to build up our base. I'm going to show you a lot of the details because a lot of you apparently like the more long-form content, so let's make more of that. And it's also important to note that we're going to start out with a little crew of 6 mice, and these all have different things they can do. For example, this is an optimist, he's going to be a little bit more happy than average. You can also see that, for example, Squeak over here is swift, so he will be moving faster, he's a little bit stronger than the rest. And as such, pretty much every mice will have its own speciality. So some of them will be better at mining, some of them will be better at farming, and so on. We're going to dive in straight into the demo, and let me show you that this is an entirely different game than Timberborn, and I really like the visuals actually in this game as well. It has a bit of a 2D versus 3D thing going on. It's quite interesting actually, but let's see. We are going to start out as some fledgling explorers, and we're going to pick an island to start our first village on. Now we can pick whatever we want, but we want to make sure we have plenty of logs in here so we can actually build stuff. We want some food in here so we can feed our little people, and we also want to make sure we have some of these base mining materials in there so we can make some money. All of that is going to be pretty important, which also means that we want to settle it kind of in the middle. So I think this is going to be a nice place to set up because we have the food nearby, we have the mining stuff nearby, and we have some wood nearby as well. Now, the quests that you will get are completely voiced. I turned off the voice because it takes a long time for it to actually do its thing. But it's worth noting that it's kind of funny. But basically, we are going to set up a village and we're going to be paying taxes to the king. Because, of course, we are here to produce value for the king and hopefully keep ourselves alive in the process. Now, in order to do that, we're going to set up a trade dock. Let's see, somewhere over here, I guess, kind of central. That should be fine. And then the ship is going to arrive right over there. Now, once it does, look, our little mice are on there, and they are going to be offloaded into our village once they arrive. So we can do it here. We are going to start out with 5 of them. There we go. And they're going to pop right out. And the next thing we're going to need to do is set up a central warehouse for all our stuff to be delivered to. Now, I'm actually going to build it a little bit off to the side on the water, so we have plenty of open space here that we can utilize for other things, and we don't get our logistics cramped up too much. As you can see, the little mice actually climb into the scaffolding. Look at that. It's a nice little detail, and they're going to be building the initial setup of our base. Now we can speed things up a little bit. As you can see over here, you don't want to overdo that because there's a day and night system in this game, and the tax collector is going to arrive on time. You can also pause the game. So that is something to keep in mind. Now, we have set up our first warehouse. The second ship arrives, and that is going to bring us our starting supplies. So we can unload those. They're going to go right into our town. And from this point forward, we're going to be paying taxes. Now you can see, we're going to be paying taxes mostly based on how large our population is, along with some of the things we paid for our starting supplies. Long story short, you can get supplies from the king, but you're also going to need to pay taxes in return. Pausing the game here for a moment, let me walk you through what we're looking at. Generally speaking, I think this UI is really well done. So on the top left over here, you can see that we're going to have to pay 45 gold in taxes in 2 days. And the value of everything we currently have in store to pay those taxes with adds up to almost 300 gold. So you can see we're doing just fine, but that is assuming that, for example, we're not going to be using our logs for other things because, well, we are going to do exactly that. So, this is going to be a moving target as we play. You can also see it's currently summer, it's a nice 20 degrees, so all in all this means that for now we don't have to worry about our people getting cold, but in the long run that will be a thing that we also need to take into consideration. Well, everything we can build is down here, and on the top we can see how many people we have in our village, how many people are currently not assigned to another job, so they can start building construction work. Our approval, you need approval to get more people into your city, so approval is going to be a major thing to work with in the early game. The royal wax seals are something you can use to get specific things going from the king. We'll worry about that later. Food, of course, is very important to keep everyone alive. Fuel will be important later on to keep everyone warm. And then you can see an overview of the general building supplies that we have. We also have a housing shortage at the moment. People are living out in the wild, but before we can worry about that, we're going to get some basic production up and running. Okay, so let's go to the resource extraction and let's set up a woodcutter, probably right over here, because this is where most of our trees are. Now, some of the trees are on a like on a high rise over there, so what we can do in order to deal with that is make sure we build some stairs so people can actually reach the other locations as well. And then we can also build a forage hut so we can make sure we get some food in. And let's build that over there. Now some of the food is again raised on this area over here. So let's add in another stairs so they can reach that as well. The stairs are instantly built, unlike for example in Timberborn. So I kind of like that because that just makes things a lot easier. And we can unpause and let it deal with that. Now, we are also going to need a mining camp for several reasons. Let's see, where are we going to build that? We have most of our mining stuff in this direction. So let's start building that over there. But we definitely want to make sure we set the highest priority to our food supply and our forage hut, because that is where we are going to start out with. Let's see. So we can assign some people to work here. Let's make sure we have 2 people working on our food. We will actually have a fair amount of food, so maybe just 1 to begin with. Let's have 2 people cutting logs, because, you know, we are almost out of those already. Although we did build all the things we needed most. So let's assign 1 person to the mining area. Now, this is not actually going to do anything until I tell it where to mine. The first thing I want to mine, however, is going to be a little bit of stone. Now, stone by itself is not very valuable. So you might be wondering, why are we getting that? Well, that's because we can build some housing with that. We can build a stone shelter, which is extremely cheap to build, but we need that in order to manage our approval. So if I click the approval, it doesn't show here just yet, but we get bonuses and negatives based on what our people are experiencing. And sleeping outside, which is what they would have to do now, is something people don't generally like. I know, surprising, isn't it? So in order to deal with that, let's make sure we get some of that going. Now we can use the approval to do a lot of things. Amongst other things, we can make sure we get in some new people into our village. Now we don't want to overdo it, because everyone needs to be fed, everyone needs to be housed. And you can also see that how expensive people are depends on how productive they are in general. This guy has a couple of bonuses that are positive ones, so he's a little bit more expensive than the rest. I think we can afford that though. We have 12 more, so you know, maybe we can spend that on this dude that's a little bit stronger than average. There we go. Okay, so that means we can add a second person to go and do a little bit of mining. We still have 2 construction workers, so that's fine. And we just got a quest to, you know, assign people to the mining camp. We just did that, and we're going to get a bonus population as a result of that as well. So we instantly completed that quest. It's like I knew what was coming, and I already played this demo before. Now, as you can see, we added a couple of people to our town, and now our taxes are already up to 74. So that is something to keep in mind as well. We are going to get in some stone. We already have 2, so let's start to build a bit of housing as well. We could also build a log cabin. It's going to require 5 logs. That is relatively expensive, as you will see in a moment. So I'm going to start out just with these stone shelters. These are relatively small things we can build. And that is just to get ourselves going. So let's build a couple of those to begin with. As you can see, people are instantly carrying their stuff. Oh, look, passing through the bushes is actually slowing them down. That is nice and realistic. It's also a little bit unfortunate, but you know, it is what it is for the moment. and making sure that people have somewhere to sleep will increase our approval quite a bit. Now, just look at this. I really like that you can see what they're carrying. The graphics in general are, I think, nice and vibrant, but not overly vibrant to, you know, hurt your eyes or anything like that. I really like all of this pretty much. So, that is nice. We have, look at that, the little stone shelter built as well. So someone is sleeping in here. It's not a good housing quality, but it's better than sleeping outside for sure. So just building these basic things is a very good place to start. And we are getting in some more stone as we go. So that is nice as well. Let's make sure we get a little bit more. We're not going to be using stone for a very long time. We mostly want to focus on things like coal and gold, if we have any. Copper, for example. That's also very useful because we can use that to pay the tax collector. But one thing at a time, let's make sure people have a place to sleep. Something else we can use our approval for is making sure people work overtime. That means that they're also going to be working throughout the night. Now that's going to give us a little bit of an approval dip, but it is going to increase our productivity quite a bit. Another nice quality of life thing, by the way, is that whenever a ship is about to leave, it will auto pause the game, so you can never miss out on that. So just in case you just wanted to do something last minute, you can still do that. And once the night comes, people will go to the central place where the food is being stored, eat a little bit, and then they're going to go to sleep. Now, ideally, they go to sleep in one of their houses. We still have 5 people that are going to be sleeping outside, unfortunately. But we are dealing with that. We are actively producing stone still. So that is quite nice, honestly. And that's going to fix that problem really quick. I'm building some more houses over here, mining some more stone to make sure we have the materials for that. And then we have the basics up and running. We have shelter, we have food, and we have the basic production. And we can focus on more complicated stuff. With the first day ending, we also get a nice little overview. So you can see exactly what you're getting approval from, what you're getting the negative approval from as well. So, you know, you can see the impact of people sleeping outside. It's by far the worst thing. Apparently, we are not supplying people with enough food, which is weird because we produced 10 berries and they didn't eat some of them. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on with that. But, you know, that is something to look into. We also have some people unhappy that they're working late and some people unhappy that they had to eat at their warehouse. But none of this is very impactful. The fact that they're being fed and that they're actually living in a home. You can see sleeping outside gives them a bonus of -8. While sleeping in even the worst housing possible gives them a bonus of +1. So that's a 9 difference between sleeping outside or sleeping inside. So dealing with the housing is definitely our first priority. I'm a little worried about the fact I didn't have this before while playing the demo, that they are not being able to find food. But let's start the next day and see what's that all about, because we have plenty of food. So I'm not entirely sure what's happened there, but might have been a fluke. Not entirely sure. Anyway, might have been because I was working them late. Yeah, this guy is definitely hungry. But, you know, we have food. Go eat. Not entirely sure what's the problem there. Anyway, yeah, let's build some more housing and then let's skip ahead to the next part. The supplier has arrived. Okay, so we can buy some free stuff. We can buy some food. We can buy some logs. And that is going to cost an additional amount of taxes. As you can see, we can just refuse any supplies to begin with, but the class, which is like kind of like the people we're paying those taxes to, are not going to like that. They want to do trade with us. They want us to spend our money. I'm actually going for the more extensive package over here. It's going to give us a lot of building materials, so yeah, that seems reasonable. We will need to pay that later on, but we have plenty of storage to do that with, so I am going to stop mining the stone soon. And speaking of mining and collecting resources, there's a lot of food up here that we can't quite reach. We have plenty of berries here still. We are producing logs, but we can't reach these logs up here either, I think. So let's see. Let's get some stairs. Let's have one over here. Then let's have one over here, over here, over here, and I guess over here. And that should allow us to reach a lot of those berries, a lot of these copper ore things as well, and some of these trees. So yeah, I think this should be good. There's actually more berries over here that I didn't notice before. I think we're doing pretty well. So we now have housing for everyone. Let's pause the game for a moment. We can build a log cabin or two as well. This is going to be more high quality housing, so to say. But I'm not sure I want to do that just yet. First of all, I think we're going to set up a first factory. Now, we can do a couple of different things. We can have a stone cutter, which is going to make stone into cut stone, but we don't have a use for that just yet. We can make a weaver make flax into woven cloaks, which again, we don't have any use for just yet, I think. What we do have a use for is a sawmill. This is going to turn logs into planks. This is going to allow us to build a lot of those more advanced buildings, like for example the stone cutter, because this needs planks. So, you know, a sawmill is a very solid place to start out with, I think. So, let's build that. Let's tuck that in nice and tight over here. Could actually, yeah, let's just do it like this. Build it a little bit on the water, so it's not getting into the way of our production lines too much. This is going to take quite a few logs, so that's actually more than we currently have. It's also going to need machinery, which we only have one of. So we definitely want to make sure that we get some more machinery in here, because machines also break down. So even though it just requires one machinery to start this thing, in the long run we're going to need more machinery in order to keep this factory functioning. Also, now we're kind of done with stone for the moment. Let's start mining some more valuable materials. We have copper over here, so we can select the mining tool once more, and let's just mine out this entire area. We'll get some stone along the way as well, but that's not going to be a problem. We might want to stock up a little bit on that, just in case we need some additional housing nice and cheap. And let's speed things up a little bit. You can see the timer on both the day and the evening, which is, I think, very convenient. You don't have to guess how much time is left, and you can plan accordingly. Let's see, did anyone go hungry this time around? Nope. Did anyone get unhappy about the fact that they were sleeping outside? Nope. So you can see we just got a massive amount of approval that we can spend on pretty much whatever we want. We can also see we produced 11 berries and we produced 15, or we consumed 15 things. So we definitely need to improve our food production a little bit further if we want to make sure that people don't go hungry in the end after all. So it tells me I should build a town hall in order to do something with my high approval, but I don't think we can actually do that. So let's check. Where's the town hall? Is it somewhere in these services over here? Yeah, not available in the demo. So, you know, that would give me additional things to do with my approval, other than just having people work throughout the entire night. But you know, it is what it is. So, the tax ship has arrived, and this is how you pay your taxes. Let me pause the game, because last time I spent a lot of time looking at this, and then time was passing in the meanwhile. You can actually see what's going to happen next if you press your shipyard. So you can see we're going to get some whiskers today, at least if we want to. We get the tax collectors, then tomorrow we're going to get another supply ship, and so on. We're also getting a pirate blockade in a little while. We'll get to that in a moment, but for now, let's focus on actually paying our taxes. Now, let's see. Currently, the only way we have in order to pay our taxes is by spending some logs or some berries. So we might actually want to hold out on this a little bit, because we can still generate some of these logs in order to pay our taxes, and there's thresholds we need to reach in order to do so. So we just spent so much money that we actually currently don't have the materials that we need. We also need to make sure then, in that case, that we're mining the correct tiles, because these tiles are just going to give us stone, and we don't care about that. We want copper! Lots of copper, and it is going to take a little while for this ship to leave, so that's a thing. There's also no one assigned currently at the sawmill, so let's do that as well. We can assign 2 people at this thing. That leaves us with only a single construction worker, but we're not currently building anything, and we are going to get in some of that copper, and you can see copper is super valuable, so this is going to go a long way to paying our taxes. Something else you can do with your approval is making sure people work overtime, and that's just going to make sure that we keep working throughout the night if we want to, just to make sure we have some additional resources coming in. Now, the tax ship is about to leave. The game auto pauses once more, so that is nice. We have 12 copper ore, so that is going to go a long way into meeting different thresholds. Now, if I don't pay enough, not the 181 that I am supposed to be paying, the monarchy is going to be unhappy with me. The claws, that's the faction that's related to, but we're still going to get some rewards. However, if I pay enough, I'm not only going to get their trust, So this is an important thing to manage. It's not the end of the world if you can't pay your taxes every now and then. But we're also going to get additional rewards on top of that. We are going to get some resources. We're going to get some schematics to build new buildings. So ideally, you want to make sure you meet some of these thresholds in general. Now, if you go all the way up, you can even pay more than what you need to pay. You're also going to get some additional bonuses, some additional valuable things. I think I'm going to keep it at this level for the moment. It's a little bit of a bonus, so that's nice, but not overdoing it. And you can see the last jump is quite a large one as well. So you want to be really careful whether or not you actually spend your resources on that. And that means the Claw delegation will talk to me soon, and once they do, we'll get our pick from those overviews that we just got. And look at that, they're very happy with the fact that we just paid our first payment. Now that's nice. We can also add some more people to our village, so let's see what we have over here. Yeah, we can get some of the more experienced people, maybe 3 of them. Could even go up to 4. Let's stick with 3 for the moment. The ship will be here for a while. And look at that, the plank abode. So what we could do is now build an improved housing area for our little things. Now it's only gonna house a single person still, but this person is going to be quite a bit happier than the person staying in a simple stone hut. So that's a thing we can do. We can actually pick 2 things out of this list because we overpaid a little bit. We could get some planks and cut stone, or a lot of cut stone and some planks. I guess I'll go for the planks, so we can actually start working on one of those boats, or maybe a couple of them, because remember, we now have 3 people that don't have a house just yet. Luckily, we are now actually producing planks, so that is nice. We can even tell those people to keep working throughout the night. We have 36 planks, so that is enough to build at least 2 of these plank boats, so that's a good place to start, I think. Let's do that like so. Now that's going to make this area a little bit hard to reach, and what we want to do in general is also use some of these planks to start working on some roads. We can have a makeshift path, which is 1 log, but we can also use 1 plank to make a plank path. Now remember that 1 log is going to be turned into 5 planks, so it's actually a lot more efficient to build these plank paths, because you can build 5 times as many of them for the same amount of resources, although you do have to actually process those logs into planks, of course, but it's worth keeping that in mind. Now let's make sure we start building like a little bit of a path over here. Oh, we actually need to end the day. People are not happy. That's because 8 of them slept outside and 4 of them went hungry. So I guess this is all to do with that overtime, because we have definitely enough housing for more than, or for less than 8 people to sleep outside. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on with that. It feels a little buggy. I mean, these people going hungry is a bit stupid when you have 40 food. Yeah, that's just really weird to me. Might just be a little bit buggy in the demo. Hopefully they will fix that. Because, you know, people working overtime should still go out and eat something, I guess. Anyway, it's not the worst problem in the world. We are being told that we don't want to negotiate with pirates, and as a reward for that, we're going to get 3 machinery. That is quite a lot. Let's accept that quest. We'll need to deal with pirates and what that is all about in a moment. But for now, let's go with this. Now, let's see. What was I doing? I kind of forget every now and then what I was doing. We do have enough people. We added some people to our things. We are currently building some of these plank boats. Let's make sure we only build 1 at a time, because it seems to be spreading out the resources a little bit, which, you know, is not that efficient. Alright, I was trying to build some roads. That was what I was doing. So let's put a plank path. Something like... This might be overdoing it a little bit, but just to show you what this looks like. There we go. Actually don't have enough resources for this. Nope, I don't. But people move a lot faster when they move across a plank path than they do when moving across the normal ground. So that is definitely going to increase the efficiency, but we want more and more planks in order to get all of this up and running. I'm not going to have you sit through all of that, so I'm just going to fast forward a little bit until we have that done. And there we go, that's a lot better. We still have 1 person sleeping outside. That's actually correct, because we're still building that last house. But other than that, things are looking up quite a bit more than they were before. We actually have a couple of people in comfortable housing now. Those are the new plank houses that we built. So look at that. We're actually getting a +6 bonus out of that. Everyone is fed, so that helps. And we just gained a massive amount of approval. Now, that also means that we're going to need to move on to the secondary requirements from our people. So you can see some of them are getting dirty at this point, so they're going to be unhappy about that. So they want somewhere to bathe. They're also not super happy about the fact that they need to eat at a warehouse, so we need to give them a better place to do that. The bathing requirement is very easy to fix because we can actually build a bathing dock. Now this is going to require some more planks, so that is something to keep in mind. But, you know, we can just place it down, for example, over here. And that's a nice central location, so they can all get a little bit of bathing done. Yeah, I guess that should be fine. Alternatively, we can put it down over here, for example, so it's kind of close to their houses. Yeah, I kind of like that location as well. So let's just do that. And let's make sure this is set to a high priority, so it's going to be built next. Now, we have the tax collector arriving once more. We should have a fair amount of copper ore stacked up. Yeah, there we go. I could go all the way this time around, but again, I'm just going to keep some of that in storage so I can make sure I can pay the next payment as well. And this will just keep them happy. So that's all we need to do. I'm also going to add in a few more people to my village so we can expand some of our production lines a little bit. Let's make sure we turn down the speed a little bit. That does mean we need some more housing. Now, I still only have houses that will fit 2 people. One person, I mean. But, oh, speak of the devil, we just got a recipe for the plank block house. This is going to house 2 people. This is a little bit more expensive to build than a single house, but it is actually going to house 2 people. So in fact, it's a little bit more efficient. It's 34 planks versus 42 if you would want to build 2 individual houses. So we definitely need to pick that. We might want to pick some machinery as well, or some stowaways. Well, I just added a couple of people to my town, so let's go for the machinery and iron bars. Not entirely sure yet what I'm going to be doing with that, but you know, that is never a bad thing. So let's see, where can we build that plank block house? Anywhere we want, I guess, is the answer. But the real question is, where do we want to build that? Maybe over here in the corner. We could also think about maybe building a farm over here, maybe. But that's somewhere down the road. First things first, let's make sure we get that housing up and running. Now, another thing I want to do, but we do need to pace ourselves because we are still working on that bathing dock as well. But another thing I want to do is give them a central place to eat. That is definitely going to go a long way towards keeping them happy as well. And in addition to that, we also need to start working on some more complex materials. So for example, we could also think about, for example, making a fishing dock. This is a different way of producing some fish, some food. And this is also part of the Farmers Guild. So this is a way to optimize those people that we had specifically designed to work more efficiently in farmer buildings. We could actually just queue this up, because this is only going to require logs. Maybe building that over here. That is accessible, right? Yeah, it is. A nice little fishing village over there as well. Oh, look at that. The first whiskers are taking a bath, so that should deal with their problems surrounding being dirty. That is working like intended. Now, this building doesn't actually need to be staffed. It will just use this out of themselves. So it's one of those kind of like service buildings that you just put up and then don't have to think about it ever again. Now, let's see. Day 5. How are we doing on approval? We are in the positive, so that is nice. We still have a couple of people sleeping outside, but that's where that last house is for. People are still relatively dirty, but that is going to fix itself. We had a rude encounter. Okay. Drab surroundings. Ate raw food. Well, I guess you can always complain about something. All in all, we are definitely getting a lot more bonuses over here than we're getting problems. So that is something nice. Look at that. It's just bathed in the ocean. 13 of our whiskers actually did some bathing. They're still happy about living in poor housing. So it's not a huge bonus getting them that 2-star house. Not something we definitely need to worry about too much. But yeah, the fact that they're eating in a warehouse along with the bathing problem are the 2 things we still need to fix the most. But the bathing problem should fix itself now. All we need to do is now start worrying about the food issue. Now, in order to do that, I am going to place down another one of those houses. We're going to finish this one first, and we're going to build that one. That should mean we have some excess housing, so we can start breaking down some of our stone shelters. And before we get to that, we first have to deal with the pirates. Okay, so pirates work sort of similar to how the tax collector works. We can just give them some stuff, and they will go away. And we just got a quest to refuse cooperation with them. And if we do that, we are going to get rewarded for that. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Although I'm not entirely convinced this is what you're supposed to do. And I'll show you why. Because if you don't cooperate with the pirates, they're going to turn your entire village into a mess. Now, luckily, rebuilding doesn't cost quite the same amount of resources as the actual construction of things does. But yeah, it is going to cost you quite a few things. So make sure that you prioritize the most important things first. And it is rather inconvenient that they start blowing everything up. So, you know, that's a thing. There's also someone who has a problem with pathing, and that's because they can't reach their house anymore. That's because this thing was taken out. I need some logs. Luckily, there is a supply ship that's bringing exactly that. So let's unload that so we can start repairing some of these stairs. So, you know, people can actually reach where they need to go. We definitely want to make sure we rebuild the woodcutter first. We probably want to have 2 people working on food as well. I also kind of want you to finish this fishing dock so we can get some more production in there. Is there anything else that is currently broken? The sawmill is just fine. So no, I think that's about it. We can repair our other stairs. Yeah, we should be fine. Well, it looks like we have a bit of a storm coming in, but yeah. We also got a quest to not only have 21 population, but also 21 housing space, and, you know, that seems like a thing we would want to do anyway, so we might as well keep working on that. Now, we do have some excess housing space now, so what we could do is start bulldozing some of these stone buildings over here. That is going to put us in a deficit for a moment, but I don't think that's the end of the world necessarily. And look at the services, because I want to build a cafe. Why is this blocked? Is that because there is a road underneath? Do I need to delete that first? I mean, we can. I mean, that's not a problem. There we go. Let's see. Services. Cafe. Yeah, that is going to allow us to actually build it. And then we need to reconstitute the plank path we had in front of that to make sure people have an efficient way of getting around. You can see how much faster they actually move if they're on planks rather than on the ground itself. That's also a reason why you might want to build paths towards your areas where you have resources, because, you know, that is a very efficient way of getting things done. Well, let's make sure we finish that last house. We only have 1 person sleeping outside, so that's not the end of the world. Do we want some additional resource? How we're doing on taxes? We should be able to pay for this. And remember, if we get 9 logs, that actually means we could kind of just put these logs back into the trade system and repay part of this for itself. There we go. We have plenty of machinery, I think. Yeah, we still have 8 of those left, so it's not a problem. The machinery, remember, is also used to repair some of our buildings. So we have the fishing dock as well as the sawmill now that are both slowly breaking down, and then we'll need some more machinery parts to replace that. How do we get fishing nets? Yeah, we can't actually do that yet. But, you know, that is something that we can probably do in the full release of this game. Now, speaking of which, we go to the research tree over here. You can see we unlocked some of these buildings already. There's quite a few, actually, we can still unlock during the demo. However, there's a massive amount that is not in the demo that will be in the full release. So, if you think this is all there is, definitely not. But I really like how this game is kind of like shaping up to be. I like the effects of the storm as well. I like the aesthetics of our little pirate town coming together. It is just really nice to look at and really fun to play. It's really relaxing. There's not really a high stress, although it's definitely not an easy game. You do need to think about what you build in what order. I've actually been able to almost lose the game during the demo as well, just because I was kind of getting ahead of myself and overbuilding a little bit. How much resources you have available is definitely also going to impacting how easy it is to get around and do stuff. So all of that is something you need to take into consideration. There's a little bit of copper ore over here I want access to. There's some copper ore actually in the wall as well. Can I target that? Can I click on this? Well, yeah. I need to double click on it. I wonder if they can actually reach it from the side as well. But yeah, we are doing awesome at our approval at the moment. And we are also reaching pretty much the end of what I think makes sense to show during the demo. Let me know in the comments, do you want to see more of this game? Are you excited about its release and do you want me to cover it then? Developers, if you're watching this, give me a review version ahead of time, please. That would be very useful. But yeah, all in all, I think this is very much not Timberborn. I'm just going to put it out there once more because I have a feeling that's going to be in a lot of Steam reviews. It is really enjoyable and it does have some similarities, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. Either way, if you're still here, I hope you enjoyed this one. You are awesome and I do hope to catch you in the next one.